remember the video of Joe Biden, kind of wandering off, and Prime Minister Maloney going over and grabbing him and bringing him back in a very graceful way.
Yep.
The White House now has come out and said this is disinformation. And there's stories everywhere about this, on how this is disinformation. He was looking at some of the other parachutists, and he just wanted to go over and salute them and congratulate them. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, but it certainly is true that he is not looking presidential. He is not paying attention. He is in his own little world.
Yeah.
But they notice that they say this is disinformation. They say that to discredit anyone. Now, let me take it a step further. Over the weekend, there was a fundraiser in California, in Los Angeles.
Huge.
And yeah, huge. And I think $50 million, something like that. Jimmy Kimmel hosted it, and Barack Obama was there with Joe Biden.
George Clooney, Julia Roberts, bunch of stars. Yeah.
So at the end, Joe Biden is standing there with his hands kind of clenched. He waves a couple of times, but his hands were clenched, and he was in that, frozen solid sort of look. And when it comes time to leave the stage, Obama just reaches over and grabs him by the wrist and leads him off stage. And it looks horrible, absolutely horrible. But we can't show that video to you today because of something that all of us in the media, at least on our side, is going through now, and it's lawfare. We are being sued, and everybody in our position being sued if we play any clip. And it's weird. We don't get in trouble for playing clips that, are neutral or don't have anything to do with anything but, Joe Biden and the left. We can't play them, and they're charging now. Like, that clip is $600
per play.
One play. And I don't even know if that includes on the internet and replays and everything else. So they're making it impossible for us to show you clips of things that happened.
That are all over the internet, by the way. They're all over. We just can't talk about them. We can't do it. I mean, we can talk about it, but we can't show it. And it makes it, probably makes it worse, right?
I think it does. I was just going to say that. I think it makes it much worse. Because if I describe to you Joe Biden on the stage and he's in that pose where he's just stiff and his hands are clenched and Obama grabs him by the arm, your imagination might make that worse than it actually is.
Yeah.
You might watch that and go, well, it's not that bad. But if we can't play it, you don't get to decide. And that's the point.
Yeah.
You don't get to decide.
But Obama definitely grabs him by the wrist and starts leading him out. And then he smoothly kind of makes it like, oh, this is my good buddy, and puts his arm around him. And then he just pushes him off the stage. He just guides him the whole way.
The whole time.
And never removes his arm from Joe Biden's back. It's amazing to watch.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they explain that away. I'm sure they'll say, oh, they're just very close. And Barack wanted to.
Barack does not like Joe Biden.
Not for a minute.
There's something else. Is the debate on Thursday or Friday of this week?
It's a week from Thursday.
I'm reading so much that Donald Trump is just going to cream him and everything else. I would be very careful with your predictions on this. First of all, it will higher expectations, so everybody will expect him just to make a clean sweep, and if he doesn't, then it looks like a loss for Donald Trump. So be careful on the way you're being used to talk about this. And the other thing is, and we will find this out, well, we won't, but our kids or grandkids will find out, I'm convinced, that they juice him.
Big time. For sure. Just like they did for the State of the Union address.
Well, we don't know that for sure, but we speculate.
Yes.
I mean, he comes out and he is a different man entirely. And, they did this for JFK and everything else, and we didn't know about it for 20 years. But, just like Elvis and everybody else, you got to perform. Let's get him to performance level. And they juice him up. And so he'll be clear. I think he'll actually do well. He'll be clear. Donald Trump could also look like a bully to this sweet little old man. I mean, honestly,
it's
you have
possible.
no idea how this thing is going to play out.
Yep.
No idea. The question we should be asking is, why are they doing it before either of them are officially the candidate for their party?
Is your thought on that so they can make a change if they decide to?
I have no thought on it. Other than we're not probably going to get a debate right before the election.
Yeah.
And, there's a million ways you can go. If he doesn't do well, they can change him. If he gets worse in the next 6 months, they know what they're dealing with now. But what will he be like in November? Look how fast this guy is deteriorating.
Yep.
So maybe it's that. I don't know. But in my lifetime, Pat, I don't think I've ever seen a debate between the two candidates in a presidential debate before the two conventions.
No, I don't think it's happened. I think this is the earliest ever.
Right. So what's that all about? Why is that happening?
It might be, I think like you said, it could be a number of things. But one of the things that I think is pretty obvious is that if he performs badly, you got plenty of time to recover from that. If this happens right before the election and he performs terribly like we expect him to, or so many of us do, then that hurts him. But if it's 6 months before, you forget.
Right. And if he does really, really well, like he did at the State of the Union. I mean, I thought it was a horrible speech, and I disagreed with almost everything he said. But
performed better than I thought he would.
Oh, yeah. He performed like he was there.
Yeah.
And if he performs like he's there, then they have that to go to all the time, over and over again, no matter what he's like, because you can't have the performance of the State of the Union and the performance in the rest of his life. You just, it doesn't, they're juicing him with something. Something's happening to get him to that state. And I think he'll be in that state, which everybody will say because they're expecting such a poor performance of him. Oh, look, he's not as bad as everybody says.